Hi, welcome. A fun fact is that the first power tool that I got was a drill, a corded drill, and in my experience, one of the first tools that people buy when they are looking to get some kind of power tools and start their toolbox is something that looks like a drill, some kind of a drill. So in this video I want to discuss, I have made already a video discussing power tool classes, brands, explain batteries, and the pros and cons of corded, cordless tools, pneumatic tools, and so on. I will not be touching any of those topics again today. I will list those videos in the video's description with titles so that you can look if you're interested. But today we will talk about, regardless of those choices, the type of drill that is best for you to get first and second. And the third one will be left, because basically there are three types of tools that look like a drill. So, almost forgot. Okay, now we're ready. The first thing, here we have, let's show those three types. Here we have a drill that is standard drill. I can usually, many of those, especially those that are cordless, let you set the torque. So if you use it to drive some screws like this, you need an adapter and you can drive some screws with it, and then that option comes in handy. Some of these have also an option to use a hammer. This one has only for drilling, the set without clutch, without torque release, while these will be for harder and easier torque. I will here just briefly explain the differences. I will not be going into details. I will leave that for a separate video. So there are models of that tool that also have a selector that lets you choose the hammer drill. It usually is drawn just like a hammer here, not this combination. So they let you pick either drill or a hammer drill. I have a tool like that at my work, so I will probably show it in the video, make it in some corner so that you can see what that selection looks like. But that's one basic drill, and that is one option. Another option is to get, let's say, a proper hammer drill, and that is this tool. This tool does in fact have a physical thing that hits like a hammer inside, reciprocating back and forth, and I will show you what the working principle is. So this is a Bosch SDS-plus system. They also have a large SDS Max, and it's an open standard, so most manufacturers use that. So you have these two sliders, and you have these two, and when you attach this, these sliders get into grooves that are inside the head so that this is fixed and so that it can be turned, or if you leave it in a system for just hammering, not turning and drilling, then it's fixed to stand, and these two let it move back and forth without falling out. There inside is a mechanism that looks a lot like, let me show you. Inside is a mechanism that looks a lot like this. So imagine if here you had this on one side for this thing, and similar one sometimes on the opposite side, sometimes not, depending on the manufacturer. And so when I depress this, it goes inside and lets this slide out and slide in, and when I leave it, it's keeping it locked. So that's similar principle to this inside. So what you do is that you move this to let it align, and then for this case it's like the door handle, so you can slide it in but it won't back off, so you can slide it in and then it's locked. To release it you need to pull and then you can remove it. So this kind of system, unlike the normal drills, even when they have a hammer mode, That hammer mode is just having some sort of eccentric circle on the shaft that gives it some kind of small vibrations. I will try to add a video showing what that looks on the inside and how it's designed, but here this is a proper hammer and it does in fact beat. And so if you have the hammer tools, and they also have mode where they turn and do a hammer, or where they simply do just hammer work, so no turning. And this is then fixed, so you can add some blades that look like a spoon for different kinds of work. I won't be going into too many details, but that's another type of tool, and they have this option that lets you spin this and adjust the angle for tools that are not circular symmetric. So that's another kind of tool that exists: ordinary drill, hammer drill, and we have an impact drill or impact wrench that can be used for drilling, though it's far from ideal, and that can be used for loosening bolts and even for screwing bolts in. And so this one is a impact wrench technically, but if I add an adapter, it becomes an impact screwdriver like magic. So it's very, very simple and very easy to turn it into an impact screwdriver. And if you buy an impact screwdriver, you cannot easily turn it into a wrench. It's usually not that powerful. I may make a separate video explaining the differences, though I did make a video about this tool working principle. I'll put it in the video's description. So we have those three basic kinds of, let's say, drills or rotary tools. And if you're looking to buy them, if you haven't got any of these, I would suggest that you first buy a normal tool, a normal drill, maybe with a hammer option. This one doesn't have it because I already had hammer drill and I didn't need to pay more for the extra option, or to pay the same price but get a lower torque and similar, or bigger bulk or whatever. But if you're buying only one, buy a normal tool like this, and maybe with an additional hammer. That will allow you to drill. If it's a decent quality, it will allow it. I'll make a review about this later. It let you drill wood, steel, all kinds of metals, and some masonry, maybe bricks and something that's not really hard reinforced concrete, or smaller holes into some really hard materials that need hammering. So it's not ideal. It will not make a nice hole, especially if we need something of a greater diameter and deeper, but it will get the job done with more hassle, more time, more stress. If you can only buy one, get this one and call it a day. If you can afford to buy two, then you will also start with this, maybe get one without a hammer, maybe with hammer, depending on the other choice. And the other choice will be one of these two. Now, when do you want to choose this one? If you need to drill a lot of like 10 millimeter or bigger diameter holes, even 8 millimeters. 6 is okay for this, but even 8 millimeters, if you want decent work in a decent amount of time, I would say that a hammer drill is a good option. You don't have to buy super expensive, you don't have to buy cordless if you don't do those kinds of works often or whatever. I have, like I said, a video explaining the pros and cons of corded, cordless, and what's all. So, but if you're drilling like that, you will need a tool like this, and so I would suggest that you get it. Of course, don't get tools that you don't need, that you won't be using. So that makes no sense. For this tool, you can get it if you do a lot of, if you want to work faster and easier. You can use a long lever to loosen stuck bolts. You can use a ratchet for tightening and bigger screwdrivers for tightening bolts. So you don't, this is not a necessary tool that you cannot do work without it. For these two, if you need to drill big holes in concrete, you need this tool. You cannot do it by hand, not in a reasonable amount of time. If you need to drill something into wood, maybe those hand drills, but if you need to drill metal and similar, this is a better idea. But for this, it's not really necessary. You can work slower, but work without this tool. It's just like an extra convenience. And it's, if it's powerful enough, it's sometimes handy when you need to break something loose without messing the interface, so without having the screwdriver's head come out and similar. It can sometimes help you prevent problems. So sometimes you could argue that it's necessary in addition to, or maybe instead of impact screwdrivers like this one here. This is an impact screwdriver, but that's a topic for a separate video. It can also be very handy when you need to remove a stuck bolt. I think I have some video showing what this works like, but it's generally not something that is the topic of today's video, but it lets you hit it with the hammer and press into a screw, and at the same time try to unscrew it. So maybe for a separate video, if I haven't made one already, you need to look it up. But it's the least likely to be necessary. One scenario where it might be a really good idea is if you need to drive a lot of screws into wood, especially if they are long and relatively thick. So this one will exert torque on you and you need to hold it and worry. While with this one it's easy, as long as you don't overdo it so that you strip the bolt's head or the screwdriver's adapter head. So some models that let you control the torque are usually a good idea for that kind of work, because it lets you work easily without much strength, without using too much strength to keep it in place. And if you need to screw a lot of bolts above your head into wood, it gets tiring pretty quickly. So this lets you work a lot easier, and in those cases it's a very good idea. But I, for example, do all sorts of fixing, mechanics, maintenance and everything, and I can live without this tool. This is just a nice extra, but it's not necessary. While in my experience over the past decades, it's very difficult to do a lot of mechanics and even handyman stuff and maintenance without a tool like this. While this one is also, let's say, almost a must, but not as much as this, for doing things into masonry. And if Google is not lying, or not lying a lot, most of you who watch my videos are from the United States, and you will correct me if I'm wrong, but in my country, in my city, we build with concrete and bricks, everything. It should sustain long-term fire from Kalashnikov for at least a day. And in the United States, a lot of houses are built from, how do I say, not as stationary, so plaster and wood and everything. So in those cases, a tool like this may be completely useless, while for my city it's almost a must. If you need to mount some shelves or anything, you must have it. So that also depends on your situation and your needs, but this is always a good first choice, a decent quality. And I plan to make reviews of the tools that I'm using, hoping that it will let you make an educated choice when you are buying, so to know the pros and cons, at least for those tools that I am using, so I can speak about them, and hoping that sharing that will help at least one person. I will also make a follow-up video about this table. I already made a unpacking, unboxing preview sort of, but I will make a full review in the following weeks or months. Hopefully I plan to make reviews of many tools, because many people ask about the experience, and so I will do that before I continue making other tutorial videos. But before doing that, I wanted to make a short, small series of elementary introductory videos such as this one, and I hope that I managed to convey my experience and knowledge so that it can help you. And if you have any questions, or especially corrections or additions, please use the BikeGremlin.net forum. Take the 5 minutes needed to register an account there. You can do it anonymously. but it's easier than YouTube for handling information, questions, replies, and searching them later, so that others can benefit from my answers. And that's it. That's it. I think I covered everything, and that's the whole video. Yes, I think so. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in some other video. Only one more thing, almost forgot about these tools. I made a video of an adapter that you can use with this tool to use normal drills. So it can in a way replace this to a degree, but these kinds of tools generally don't let you, they're bulkier, they don't spin as fast, and it's not a good idea unless you really use mostly a lot of drilling into masonry. Then okay, maybe this would be your first tool, but I've never seen a person who has that kind of use case. Not saying that there aren't any, just again, this is my knowledge based on my experience and education, and that's what I'm sharing. So thank you very much again for watching, and I'll see you in some other video. Cheers.